We've all had this experience where, you're sitting in your family room and you see this fly trying to fly out the window over and over again, okay? It just keeps hitting the window more, harder, faster. And just a few feet down, there's a whole door open, your whole screen door, your whole patio door, whatever. The whole thing is open, but this poor fly is just trying to go through this window over and over and over again. But if that fly just stopped for a second, rested, because it's probably exhausted from trying to fly through a damn window that is never going to work, by the way. Even if it does it harder, even if it does it faster, it's not going to work, right, for the fly. But if that fly just took a second, stepped back, looked around and said, okay, what I'm doing is obviously not working. Let me rest my body because I'm definitely burnt out from trying to fly through a window repeatedly. Let me rest my body and then let me come up with a new strategy because something else has to work, because this is obviously not working. The definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. A lot of people are living their life like this. A lot of people are the fly that keeps trying to go through the window over and over again. It's trying to do something very, very hard. It's working very, very hard, and it's going to die in the process instead of getting the results that it wants. And a lot of people are living their lives like this. If they just stopped for a second and really, really said, okay, that's not working. What can I do differently? Your life would transform. But we all have grown up in this culture of work hard, study hard. Relationships are supposed to be hard. Marriage is supposed to be hard. If it's hard, you're doing something wrong. There's some information you're missing. Easy is right. Hard is wrong. If something feels hard, stop and come up with a plan. And a lot of people waste years of their life, years of their energy, get themselves and their body to a point of completely burnt out. You are burnt out from how exhausted you are, and still don't ever think, maybe I should change my strategy. Doing hard work isn't going to get results. Doing the right thing is what will get you results. But for you to figure out what the right thing is, you need to just stop what you're doing and think for a second. You're stuck on this hamster wheel that's obviously not getting you anywhere. Take a pause. That's the thing, you guys. So many of us grew up in this idea that you're supposed to work hard, study hard, relationships are hard. The reason we do that is, number one, to get approval from our surroundings, from our family, from our friends. And number two, it's because you think it's going to make your life easy. If your days are hard, if you have hard work, if you have hard relationships, if you are studying really hard in school, the only thing that's going to happen is you are just using all these blocks, and in the end, you're going to have a hard life. If you think that doing hard things is going to end up with you having an easy life, that is a very, very flawed idea, because it's like saying, okay, I'm going to build a tower with all these blue blocks, and in the end, I expect to have a red building. No. If you build a life out of hardness, in the end, you're going to have a whole life of hardness. That's how that works. So you actually need to stop and think, what would be the easiest way for me to go about this? And the thing is, that requires you to just stop for a second, but so many of us don't want to stop because it's easier to just keep being the fly and drive faster and harder into the window and think that's going to work. it actually requires thinking to figure out what to do next and what is the best course of action. And the thing is, a lot of us, when you do that, if you're the fly and you just stop and you take a break and you think, okay, what I'm doing is obviously not working. A lot of people might call you lazy. A lot of people will make you feel like, oh, you're a failure. You're getting behind in life. Look at all of us flies trying to slam against the window. We're all working really, really hard. You're a lazy fly. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're all exhausting ourselves and working hard. And look at you, lazy. That fly that stopped slamming itself against the window is the smartest fly in the room, because number one, it's saving its energy, it's resting its body, knowing that its body is not going to get it there. And now that it's rested, it can actually use its brain to look around and see the situation for what it is. So when you come to this point in your life where you're thinking, okay, I need to just stop because I cannot keep doing what I'm doing and expect different results. It will not work like that. Until you change what you're doing, the results aren't going to change. And a lot of people don't realize this because we just assume it's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be hard. It's supposed to feel easy. You're supposed to create it and design it and strategize it so it feels like the easiest thing in the world. But that requires a little bit of strategy, and that requires you being okay with stopping when everyone else is moving and slamming and trying. You're going to feel like a failure. You're going to feel uneasy. The people around you are going to start judging you because suddenly you're the fly that stopped and said, this isn't working for me. Obviously, everyone is very happy to keep slamming against the window. Not me. I need to come up with a new plan. And the thing is, I will find myself doing that every 3 days. I'm just like, okay, what I'm doing is not getting the results I want. Some things I'll try out for 2-3 weeks before I'm like, okay, time to change the plan. Some things I'll try out for 3 days before I think, okay, time to change the plan. So you have to adapt to the situation, but because so many of us are in this work hard thing, you just end up burning yourself out, and it's just the most depressing thing to watch. And trust me, like, I've been there. I have been that fly against the window who all I really needed was some information, but I was too busy doing this because I was just, I always had all these commitments. As soon as school would end, I had to go meet friends. I had to go do this. I had to go do this. There was never a quiet time for me to just sit and reflect. So if you just, any free time you have, take that out of your schedule and just call it strategy session. For just 1 month, anytime you want to watch TV or you want to hang out with friends, just for 1 month, I promise you it will transform your life. Strategy time. A lot of people don't have a strategy for life. Their only strategy is, okay, do it as hard as I can, do it for as long as I can, and hopefully something clicks. That is the mentality of the fly. Do it harder, harder, harder. Okay, well, that's not working. Do it harder and then do it longer. Maybe before you were only slamming against the window for 8 hours a day. Now you're like, okay, well, I guess I have to do more. So now you're slamming against the window for 12 hours a day. It's not going to get you where you want. You need to stop. It's just that kind of discomfort where your brain doesn't like looking at itself. Your brain doesn't like to kind of face the reality of things. Have you ever noticed as soon as you feel an uncomfortable emotion, as soon as you feel kind of uneasy, you just like grab your phone to distract yourself? Anytime you feel uneasy, sit in that and say, okay, I'm feeling uneasy about this thing. Why am I feeling this? And really, really sit and analyze your emotions. But a lot of us just don't want to sit and plan. But most of your problems could be solved if you just took a moment of silence and said, okay, this isn't working. Time for a new strategy. And that is thinking, okay? Most people, we were never taught how to think. The way a football game, they have a strategy before going into that game, right? And they will change their strategy depending if they're winning, they're losing, whatever. Same thing with you. A lot of people, you go into life without a life strategy, thinking that you'll just feel it out. Even in a football game, they have a plan, okay? You need to have a plan. No one teaches you in school. A lot of people don't even have goals written down. And then after you have those goals, what's your plan to get that goal? And then be okay with changing that plan as you go along. But the one thing you cannot do is keep doing what you're doing, except now do it harder, except now do it faster, except now do it for longer. You're just going to be the fly, and all it's going to lead to is burnout. I know a lot of people have really busy schedules, have kids. If you're working 10 hours a day, I know, I get it, but you need to, when everyone's asleep, you need to either wake up earlier in the morning or stay up just an hour later at night and say strategy session. Okay, what I'm doing is not working. What are my ideas? And the thing is, you will probably come up with better ideas than Google will. If you were just like, okay, I need to Google how to do this. You know your situation the best, right? Google doesn't know your situation. Coaches don't know your situation. If you yourself really sat and thought, okay, what are a few things that I could do that would make a difference, that would feel really easy and fun for me? That's also key. I'd recommend that you guys watch my YouTube video on how to find your purpose. I think that would help a lot of people as well. Alex Hormozy, he also has this video where he talks about his friend's daughters was working in a bowling alley making minimum wage, and it costs like $500 to get your phlebotomy certification. This girl is just constantly making minimum wage, still working at the same job over and over again. But if she just really, really thought of a plan and said, okay, let me save up this much money, get my phlebotomy certification, and then she's making a lot more, and it was only $500. So you need to have a plan to get out of what you're doing, and whether that's research, whether that's asking around, but your best bet is to just really sit down and think it through, because you know how to work in your situation best. It's just kind of about believing in yourself too. There is a way out of this lifestyle, but it's going to force you to take some time aside and strategize and think, okay, I've got to do something different. The hardest part of all of this is when people start judging you for stopping. Like, I quit my 9 to 5. I completely fell off the face of the earth last year around, it's probably been a year now, like where I just cut out everyone in my life and locked myself in a house and didn't talk to anyone for about 6 to 8 months. Didn't talk to anyone. I'd see my mom maybe once a month. I'd go to the gym, and that's about it. And that was such a hard decision for me, because I would look around and see all my friends getting further in their lives, moving steps ahead, going on social media, feeling like everyone's doing something except me. But that was the smartest thing I could do in my life, because it just allowed me to stop, rest, because I've been so burnt out my whole life. I've always been this kind of straight A student where I just expect myself to succeed in every single thing I do, that I didn't even know what I liked anymore. I just was expected to be good at everything. I didn't even know what I had a natural tendency for, what my natural talents were, because I could be good at anything you forced me to be good at. And that's a skill in itself, but so important for you to do what you love and do what you care about. And that's why you guys should watch my video on how to find your purpose, because then it feels so easy when you're doing what you love, when you're doing what you are naturally inclined to do. You will see that anything that comes in your way, any obstacles, things that you have to do to make that work, feel really exciting. It feels like a learning opportunity. You could read about it all day because it feels really exciting. And the reason you feel like you're dragging yourself through your days, you're dragging yourself through life, is because you're doing something you don't really care about. But the thing is, it takes time to stop. And that's really scary because it'll feel like you're a loser. It feels like you're having a mental breakdown. You're getting behind in life while everyone else is racing forward. And the thing is, you guys, you're going to die alone, okay? You are going to die alone. No one does that journey with you. And because of that, you also have to live alone. Up here, the only voice that should matter is yours, and that's really tough when you grow up wanting love and approval from your family and your friends, that you feel like if they don't approve of you, they're not going to love you. And as humans, we really want love. But the thing you have to remember is you're going to die alone. So you need to live alone up here, and you need to do stuff that feeds you, nurtures you, not nurtures your ego. Right? If you're doing something for someone else, it feeds your ego. It doesn't actually feed you. And you can feed your ego and exhaust yourself at the same time. You will feel like a shell of yourself. I was thinking about going to med school because everyone around me was like, oh my gosh, she's going to be a doctor. She's so amazing. She's so smart. It really fed my ego. My ego drove me so far. And then I think it was just COVID, or, just isolating from friends and family, where I was just like, it's just me in this body. It's just me in this mind. No one else is here anymore. It's just us. And this is a safe space. What do you really want? And your ego will get you pretty far, but it will show in your body. You will feel anxious. You will feel stressed. You will feel sleep deprived. You'll feel like you're going against yourself. It won't feel like your natural path, but your ego is carrying you that far. But you are putting on all these coping mechanisms to get there. And in the end, it will all be for what? For them. You're gonna die, and you lived your whole life for them. And that's when I got to that point, I was just like, okay, like it's just me up here, and you're the only voice I care about. And ever since I started doing that, my life became so easy. My sleep got better, my happiness got better, everything just got better when I let me lead rather than let everyone else lead me. And it wasn't even everyone else, right? No one was actually ever forcing me to do anything, but what they did for my ego is what drove me, not me fulfilling myself and trying to give myself a life that I don't want a vacation from. That is my goal now, where I create, where I don't even work, I play. Like, this for me isn't work. Like, it's more work for me to not film this video than to film this video. For me, this is the most natural thing in the world. There's no difference between me doing this versus 5-year-old me playing with her little Barbie dolls. Like, now my toys are just a little bigger and fancier, but this really feels like playtime for me, and that is how I want to create my life. And it feels so easy. Easy is right. Hard is wrong. And the only reason you're doing hard things is because it feeds your ego, or because someone has tricked you into thinking hard things are going to end up in an easy life later. It's not. You need to re-strategize. And for some people, this feels easier than this, because it is uncomfortable to take a hard look at your life and come up with a plan, but you can do it. But you need to remember to keep trying different things. Change your method. if it's not working, if you've tried it for 2 weeks and it's not clicking and you're not getting the results you want, don't keep doing it. Stop, pause, and say, there's got to be a better way. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I'm miserable. I'm anxious. I'm stressed. Health is not where I want it to be. My relationships are not where I want it to be. I cannot just keep driving this car in the wrong direction. All the alarms are blaring, right? When you're driving into the fire pits, you can smell the smoke. You can feel the heat. You can feel the burning sensation. You know you are going in the wrong direction, but you have also piled on all these coping mechanisms. You're going in the wrong direction, but now you're drinking 3 cups of coffee to make it a little better. Now you're popping a Tylenol every morning just to get through your day. You're having a drink every single night. You're piling on all these things so that you can make your way into the fire pit, into enemy territory. You're holding on to all these shields, all these coping mechanisms, and you're charging forward, and all these alarms are blaring saying, hey, wrong way, wrong way. Your emotions are your GPS. When you are feeling uneasy and it shows in your health and it shows in your sleep, you are moving in the wrong direction. All you really need to do is stop, rest, because you're probably exhausted, drop the coping mechanisms, you will feel so much lighter, and turn around and move in the direction of peace and happiness and love. And there may be people around you who are saying, hey, what are you doing? We're all going towards the fire pits. You know what's at the end of the fire pits? More fire pits. That's it. It doesn't get easier. When you are moving in the direction of hard, you are going to get more hardness. It's kind of like the first cigarette phenomenon, where the first time you had a cigarette, it tasted horrible, you're coughing, it's uncomfortable, you don't like it, the smell is ugh. Okay, the second cigarette, also not that great, but a little better. The third cigarette, this is actually kind of good. The fourth cigarette, okay, my body is coughing, my teeth are turning yellow. I look in the mirror, it's very obvious I'm doing something wrong, but I'm gonna keep going. When it feels wrong, stop, rest, come up with a new plan, and go another direction. And you can keep figuring out what direction feels better. You know, maybe this one feels a little better than this one, than this one, than this one, and it's all a reach. You won't know right away. Life is kind of just like this giant game of hot and cold, where you're like, okay, warmer, warmer, colder, colder, warmer, hot, hot, hot. Like, you know, that's kind of how you play the game of life, where you're just trying to figure out, okay, this feels good, this feels good, this felt good for 2 years, but now it doesn't feel so good anymore. Trust that feeling. Lower your pain tolerance so you can tell when you're getting a taste of the first cigarette. You don't want to get used to that pain. That's a bad thing. It's really good to be sensitive. Your body, your emotions are your instrument of moving in the right direction or moving in the wrong direction. Okay? So if you listen to your body and you keep it very sensitive, you keep your pain tolerance very low, you will know very quickly when you're moving in the wrong direction. When I think about past relationships that I've been in, every single relationship that I had to kind of force myself through, I knew that it wasn't someone who was a natural fit for me, but like I was so emotionally and mentally attached to them that I was like, yeah, you know what? I really want to make this work. I really want to make this work. And it was very, very hard. And in the end, the only thing I got by trying to get through a hard dating phase, just because I had decided that I want this person, even though everything about it felt hard, all I got in the end was a hard relationship. And then if I kept going, I would have had a really hard marriage, right? So when things feel hard, that is your sign to move in the opposite direction, and even just stop, just come to a stop. That is your sign that you're moving in the wrong direction. At least come to a stop and say, hey, I need to pause and think of a new strategy or figure out if this relationship is the right fit, figure out if there's some factors that need to change, whatever. But every time you push into something that already feels uneasy from the beginning, that already feels like a struggle in the beginning, do not go further into that thing. Do not commit even more to that thing. When I studied neuroscience in college, and all of college, I was dragging myself through homework. I was dragging myself through final exams. And now looking back, I'm just like, you obviously just studied the wrong thing. Because people who studied what they really, really enjoyed, study like what you love to do, like when you were like 10, 12 years old, before you discovered like boys and girls and whatever, you started having crushes, and what did you like to play with, right? You know, like the kids who had every single dinosaur name memorized, right? For me, I loved dressing my Barbie in the perfect outfits. For me, it was more important for me to get that approval. It was more important to feed my ego than to feed myself. And I did neuroscience, and you know, I did learn a lot, and it was a cool thing, but I was dragging myself through those 4 years. And I look back to people who went into college undecided, and my ego was like, oh my gosh, they're already falling behind in life. They're undecided. They're 18 and they don't know what they want to do. For anyone who's older, for anyone who's in their 20s, I'm just like, I would never, ever let my 18-year-old self make life decisions for me. That girl was so stupid. Bless her, she was trying her best, but that girl was so stupid. So the idea of you allowing your 18-year-old self to make a decision off the bat without really thinking it through, I think people who go into college undecided and say, you know what, I'm gonna just kind of feel around and see what feels good. That's what life is. It's just like a reach, you guys. It's a game of hot and cold, and you cannot be so strict in things. Just be strict and following the feeling of love and joy. That is my rule. Follow the feeling of fun and joy, and whatever doesn't feel like that means you're moving in the wrong direction, means you should take a pause and say, obviously this doesn't feel right. But for you to be able to do that, you have to keep your instrument sensitive. So many of us are so burnt out. So many of us are so sleep deprived. So many of us have almost spent our whole lives doing this that we can't even tell. Your hand has been on the stove. You're so burnt out that you can't even tell if you're touching something hot or cold. You need rest so badly that you can't even tell if you like something or you are being tricked into liking something because you'll get approval if you like it. I really, really am huge on encouraging rest and then following the direction of fun. And a lot of people say, like, Afi, if I never did anything hard, I would just lay in bed all day. If you need to lay in bed all day for a week, 2 weeks, lay in bed all day. Rest, okay? If you have had your hand on the stove for 20 years, this hand needs to sleep. This hand needs to rest before it will ever be able to function as a hand again. Okay? So many of us are so burnt out that we can't even think anymore. And the thing is, when you started doing it, you probably started with just a finger on the stove and it felt a little uncomfortable. It felt hard, but everyone around you said, hey, good job. Remember, life is supposed to be hard. School is supposed to be hard. Keep going. And you're like, are you sure? This really doesn't feel good. And they're like, yeah, the burning, the smell of skin burning, the hot burning sensation that you're getting, that's a good sign. Keep going. And you're just like, okay, if you say so. And then you put a few more fingers on and everyone's like, good, keep going. And you're like, I don't know that I like this. And they're like, no, it's supposed to feel like that. That horrible feeling where your sleep is a mess, your health is a mess, your work-life balance, even though I don't like to say the word work, your play-life balance is a mess. That's good. Remember, you're supposed to work hard. And suddenly your whole hand has been on the stove for years and it doesn't even work as a hand anymore. It's just blackened to a crisp, you know? And usually people are driven to this point where if you don't stop, your body will force you to stop. It will come it'll start off with rashes. It'll start off with autoimmune issues. It'll start off with breakouts. It'll start off with bad sleep. It'll start off with you just needing 5 cups of coffee to go through the day. And then soon you're gonna pass out at work or something because you were going so hard. So I encourage you to stop now before you get to the point of the burnt off hand, the hand that is just bones by now. Try to stop before you get to that point and allow yourself to rest, and then you'll be able to think. Do not demonize rest. I know there are a lot of people who love to say, oh yeah, I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. You got 8 hours of sleep? Wow, like you're lazy. No, they're healthy. They're balanced. Their life will continue to be healthy and balanced. They'll be joyful. They won't feel burnt out. They're not having to drink to get through their days. They're not having to pop a Tylenol once a week. It is not cool to be sleep deprived. It is not cool to hate your job. It is not cool to be miserable. If you feel like that, if someone complains to me, this whole week I've only gotten like 2-3 hours of sleep every day, I just am getting no sleep, I will not say, wow, it sounds like you're moving in the right direction. Good job. You're working real hard. That's awesome. I will say, wow, sounds like it's time for you to make a life change before your body forces you to make a change. Do it before you reach the point of exhaustion. Do it yourself. Take the time to rest and then think of a new plan. You need a strategy for life, just like a football game needs a strategy. You don't think you need a strategy for this? You do. Think it through. Come to a pause. Think it through. This is so important because I know so many of us have signed on to this, especially if you come from immigrant parents where they grew up in that culture of work hard and they're trying to pass it on to their kids. But it really will not get you where you want to go. You've got to follow the direction of positive emotion. You've got to rest. You have to have balance. You have to be able to actually use your brain, and you won't be able to if you're so physically exhausted. Sit back and think. There's this story of this farmer who ended up getting completely paralyzed and he couldn't use his body anymore, and then he became a millionaire because he was forced to use his mind. He couldn't use his body anymore, and he was probably also exhausted from working the farm every day that he'd go to bed and didn't even have time or energy to think of a better way to run his farm, to think of a more efficient way to do it. All he did was he just wasn't allowed to use his body anymore. He wasn't allowed to be exhausted anymore. So now he had no choice but to use his mind, and then very quickly became a millionaire. And that's what a lot of people are doing, where you're just using your body, that you don't realize this is a lot more powerful than the fly using all of its force to get through the window. It's not going to work. And I just really want you guys to take a second and think, what in your life are you doing where you're the fly hitting the window over and over again? And if you're struggling to figure out, okay, what is fun? What am I supposed to do? I do just feel really, really burnt out. Watch my next video on how to find your purpose, because this will really help you figure out how to create a life of play where you're just getting paid to play, where you're doing the thing you already do. You would do this even if no one ever paid you for it, whatever that talent is of yours. Don't be the fly. The definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again, doing it harder, doing it faster, doing it stronger. None of that is going to work. Change your approach. And every single day, every single week, say, okay, what about my approach today worked? And what would I tweak to make my approach for tomorrow work even better? and you just are constantly kind of trying to level up and improve and tweak your process. And that's the way it goes. It's always an improvement, but you will find that using your brain and thinking will make you feel so much more energized than trying to use your body to get somewhere. Using your mind, far more effective and far less exhausting. Also, I feel like this is the case with weight loss too. Celebrities always talk about, like Rebel Wilson, she talked about how when she finally lost weight, it was not the grueling workouts in the gym, killing herself, doing all these restrictive diets. Long walks are what actually finally made her lose weight. I think Mindy Kaling said the same thing. Just walking made them lose weight. And think about when you go on vacation, right? You're so active, you're walking around, you're eating whatever you want. You come back and you don't gain weight because you are just having fun and doing things that are natural. You're not killing yourself in the gym. When I finally started losing weight in high school, when I was struggling to lose weight, it was when I just stopped caring about my weight and decided, okay, this is like recess time for me. This is supposed to be fun for me. And when I started doing that, that's when I finally started losing weight and just doing things like dodgeball, going for a walk and listening to my favorite podcast, doing things that were fun and trying to say, okay, I want to move my body. What is the most fun way to do it? Sometimes I'm dancing along to High School Musical and trying to copy the dance numbers. I don't know if you're a guy doing Batman's punching routine. I don't know. When you try to make it as easy as possible, as natural as possible, that's when you finally get results. I remember also in high school when I was trying to lose weight, I was not getting any results and I was just constantly on the treadmill for like 2 hours. My cortisol levels, your stress hormones, were through the roof and I was just exhausted and nothing was happening. I wasn't losing weight. Did some research and figured out my fruit smoothie that I was drinking every morning. And you know, fruit is supposed to be healthy, right? It had like 60 grams of sugar. Apparently, we're only supposed to consume 20 grams of sugar per day. I was doing that. I would do a glass of orange juice in the afternoon, all these things. And I was eating so much sugar, not knowing that. And then also spiking the stress hormone by doing such hard workouts that my body was just in trauma mode. It was just like, oh my God, we're working so hard, we're exhausted, and I was not seeing any progress. I was drinking frappuccinos on the weekends, also packed with sugar. And as soon as I stopped doing the fruit smoothies and just ate a healthy breakfast, oatmeal, some protein, toast, eggs, cut out the fruit smoothie, cut out, instead of doing frappuccinos, I just did coffee with a little bit of almond milk. The weight started shutting off. And most people would think, okay, I'm not losing weight. I guess I just need to go longer in the gym. I guess I just need to go harder in the gym. And going longer and going harder is just going to exhaust you and burn you out, and you're not going to get the results that you want. So you will see this in so many areas of your life where people lose so much weight when they're just happy and relaxed. Europeans, the ones who don't smoke cigarettes, are just happy. They're just balanced and they're eating butter, pasta. So if you just pick forms that feel easy, forms of being active that feel easy and fun, that's when you'll actually start to lose weight. When you just start kind of studying food, not even studying, just read the back of everything that you eat and say, do I know what this ingredient means? If you don't know what it means, there's a good chance you shouldn't be eating it. And it's so crazy how we think hard makes sense, because the reason it's hard is because you're moving in the wrong direction and it feels like a struggle. That means you need to change something. And no one ever taught us this. No one told us, hey, take the easy route because that's the right route. And I just see it in so many areas of my life looking back where I'm just like, I thought hard work was the answer. I thought relationships were supposed to be hard, and it just is not true. I remember even for this physics class that I had in college, I was struggling sitting in my dorm looking at this physics problem over and over again, looking at the answer key. It still wasn't making sense to me. And I was like, you know what? Stop sitting here alone and trying to figure it out. You've been here for 3 hours staring at this problem. It's not working. I went to 5 different TAs. I went to the first TA and was like, can you explain this to me? The way she explained it didn't make sense. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit with this for too long because we obviously don't think alike. Went to the second one, third one, fourth one. None of them thought the way I did. The 5th TA thought the way I did, and I started going to him for any physics help, because you know when people explain a math problem to you and like you ask different friends for help, but the friend that thinks like you, that one makes sense to you. There's like 5 different explanations on how to approach a math problem, but you need to find the person who sees it the way you see it, and then it finally clicks. And instead, what I could have done is just struggled with the first TA and said, no, I still don't get it. Can you try to explain it to me again and again and again? I just knew that I wasn't going to get it with the first TA. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sit and try to figure this out with you and force myself the way I was just forcing myself in my dorm sitting alone. It just wasn't working. So I tried something else, and that's when it finally clicked. And you just have to take a look at what's in front of you and say, okay, this isn't working. Stop. What is something else I could do to get a result? Try it. If it doesn't work, what is something else I could do? But don't keep trying the same thing over and over again. As soon as you really, really ingrain this in your head, it's gonna like transform your life, I swear. And you'll see all the areas of your life that you were doing this and why it wasn't working. And suddenly you make those changes and it starts working, and it's crazy. It's very exponential, which is cool because you see the changes fast. You see the results fast. When you do the right things, you'll get the right results. But if you do the wrong thing, even if you're doing that wrong thing harder and faster and stronger, you're still going to get the wrong results, the results that you don't want. You just have to change what you're doing. And it feels like common sense, but it doesn't occur to you because you're so drained and exhausted from your day. It never occurs to you like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. You know what I mean? Ugh. Anyways, okay, I love you guys. Bye.